welcome all to this interesting conversation, I hope, on retelling epics for modern readers. It's hot, but we are under the mango tree, and I'm sure some of you at least will get some breeze from around. So to start with, let me ask, Anuja is just coming out with a new book on Kannagi. Since Trivandrum has a very close connection with Kannagi, the Attugal temple, let me ask her what it is like to retell the story of Kannagi, which is very popular and most of us know the story. How can you tell it from a different angle to a new set of readers?
Talking about Silapatikaram and Kannagi, it was part of my diet growing up. I grew up hearing Kannagi's story, and there was a love-hate relationship there. Because as you know, Kannagi was this impossibly perfect wife, and you are expected to emulate her. And for the uninitiated, the Silapatikaram opens with this striking visual of a woman with a lone breast walking in Cheranadu, in Kerala side only. So that part of the story nobody told me about the missing breast. So when you do your research, you realize that she was so mad that her husband had been killed because of an injustice that she plucks out her left breast and hurls it at Madurai, reducing it to ash. Now, I am a very contrarian, argumentative person, so I was thinking, as far as I know, breasts are not detachable organs which can be weaponized at will. I would love if that were true. Breasts can be weaponized, yes, but not used as nuclear level bombs or whatever, which can level a city. So I thought, see, this is, you just know that a man has written this story. So I feel that women's stories are best told by women, and I wanted to write a more realistic version. And the story, my book's called The Wife and the Dancing Girl, because we have this problematic dichotomy where women are either seen as good girls, to be placed on a pedestal and worshipped, only to be dragged down later and stoned to death, or you're the wicked witch, and something which rhymes with it, which is worse. As far as I'm concerned, at no point in history will you find a woman who's entirely one or the other. We women are complicated creatures. We can't be labeled, we can't be boxed in somewhere. So I wanted to go with a very realistic portrayal that does justice to all kinds of women. And I hope I have succeeded in my vision.
Talking about that, I must ask Anand Neelakantan, who has written so many books and also a very popular bestseller on Damayanti. How difficult is it to reinterpret these heroines from our epics and characters who were deemed to be very feminine, very docile, the ideal wife and so on? How do you view them through the prism of living in modern day and for new readers?
Thank you. Actually, many of these stories, when it appears in Mahabharata, they are not so docile. Any of the characters, whether it is Damayanti or Shakuntala or any characters of any female characters in Mahabharata, they are not docile. Even in Valmiki Ramayana, they are not that docile. It is the medieval literature which started making them to be like how we are familiar with, because it had propagated some other values, especially very patriarchal values. So it's easier to go back to the Mahabharata original. There is no one Mahabharata, of course, as you know, there are so many versions and variations of it. So it's rather a question of picking and choosing, and the myths have been written and rewritten many times according to time. So when the times have changed, when we are writing it, today's sensibilities will reflect in that, because every era, whenever this has been written, that is why we are finding this kind of very patriarchal statements, because it was written in those era when these things were solidifying.
Yeah. So when we talk of, now Tinder and dating apps have replaced the Hamsam, and instead of we have emails and so many other ways to get in touch. So when you were writing Damayanti and also your later books, because you've written several based on the epics, and the latest book is The Asura Way on management also. So do you consciously reinterpret these women characters for the modern day reader, keeping in mind that you're writing for a generation that is in search of their own identity, their own voice, and in search of new characters and identities?
It's not just women character. I reinvent and reinterpret every character in the book. because that's what I said. No, this has been like, and this is not a new thing. Basa did it even in second century BC. He did it. He reinterpreted. He changed the entire plot many times, like Pancharatra or many other books. Even Pratima Nataka, the way in which Bharata's character was interpreted. So many of them are there, including. Similarly, in Ramayana also, my latest book, that is last week, which was released, was Many Ramayanas, Many Lessons. There I am going through all the ways in which Ramayana evolved. So it has a lot of alternate endings. There are Ramayanas where there is no, Sita is not abandoned, but it's a very happy, jovial ending. Where
and they lived happily ever after.
they lived happily ever after. So it is nothing new. When I am writing, I reinterpret every character, and of course my voice also will be there. Without my voice, there is no storytelling. I am not just translating any book. So I change the plot sometimes. I change the characters, which every writer has done. So in the previous session, I was talking about how Kalidasa had changed the character of Shakuntala from Vyasa's Shakuntala. So this has happened again and again. He was writing for a time, and he was writing for his boss, the king. So he changed the entire plot itself. Sometimes very laughable plot also he put, but he mastered through great language and great skills in language and poetry. So when I am writing here, definitely I will also pick and choose what to take and write it, because my duty is to tell a story engagingly. That's all I look about.
Anuja, he just talked about how the writer's voice comes out when you write about. So when you reinterpret old epics that have been, of course, been retold and re-narrated with added memories and added voices to it, do you think you're being fair to the young reader or to the modern reader, old or young? Because what if they think this is the real story? And when you are reinterpreting these old epics, are you always conscious that you might land in a soup with people being so sensitive to reinterpretations of their favorite characters or whom they perceive to be, religious characters?
To answer your question, I think it was Bernard Shaw who said you should write drunk and edit sober. This is not exactly an endorsement of drinking yourself to death, no. But the point is, when you are writing, you can't afford to censor yourself at that point. When you're thinking about what will people think, will there be a controversy? If you think all that, there's an element of self-consciousness which comes in, and you're not staying true to the material or to yourself. Like Anand mentioned, your voice is also, a part of it. So I enter a flow state when I write, but before that, there's a lot of research which I do. I'm a geek, so I spend lots of time taking notes by hand. I go through all the material, and I love this material. I love it. I love Puranic lore. I love the epics. I love it to pieces. So whatever I do, it comes from a place of love and respect, in which case I don't think I'm flirting with controversy. I'm not deliberately being provocative. So there's that. But at the same time, while I love this material, I've also felt there's plenty of room for reform. Just to give an example, if you take the Ramayana itself, the whole infamous Agni Pariksha thing, and there were real world ramifications after that. Sati and Johar did happen in our country. In fact, I was reading Manu Pillai's book, where he talks about how it's grossly exaggerated. He says there were some Western authors who wrote 10,000 women are burned to death in heath in savage India. And then he goes on to add the actual number was closer to 340 or something, and this was in Bengal alone. And I was thinking, that's not a joke, that's not a trivial number, whether it's 1 or 100, this happened to women. That's a woman a day. On an average being burnt in Bengal alone. So there is room for reform. And the beautiful thing about India is we've made room for reform. Accommodations have been made because we don't take it as set in stone. Hinduism, this Indian mythology, it's an ocean, and lots of streams have to pour in to keep this alive, this living organism alive. So I think that's the beauty of it, that we can reinvent and re-assimilate. So that's what I'm trying to do. If I find a certain portrayal problematic, then why not retell it, for keeping in mind the modern reader, as you mentioned. You are retaining the essence of it, and you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That fine balance, that tightrope walk is essential.
applause can be louder for her if you like it, because that really is music to our ears when you're on this platform. Yeah, Anand. So when she spoke about trying to avoid controversy, deliberately creating a controversy and so on, we live in, I could say, an age when there is a lot of revivalism. Would you say that your books become trendsetters because you are in with the trend of this revivalistic trend to go back and say, yeah, there was a golden age of India, and so we are trying to hark back to that ancient age. Do you think that your books find resonance because they are talking about that golden age and the characters from that age? Do you think that current atmosphere and ambience plays a role?
I'm sorry, have you read my books?
I have.
So, how much glorification of India is there? It is rather critical to the core. It is telling the story from the other side, whether it is Vanara, whether it is Asura or Ajaya, or even Bahubali series which I wrote. So
The
it
Bahubali series is definitely, it shows a golden age, isn't it?
doesn't. I think it's not, the film is different from the book.
Okay. So now you're coming to the point. So when you write about, you're writing about characters which find resonance, and many of us have read about these characters, right? So when you write about them, that's what I'm asking. There is now a trend to go back. So do you think that this trend at the current times we're living in could be playing a role in the popularity of books being that explores the epics?
I don't write Mount Kailas is a nuclear reactor. I don't write, we had the people who were traveling in horses had atom bombs to hurl at each other. They didn't even have a bicycle. So I write more on the fault lines of the society, and I write, my books are virulently anti-caste and other things. So I don't think it is going with the trend of whatever revivalism we are talking about. And especially Asura, it is where it grounds is through the eyes of Bhadra, the character which I had wrote as a common man, and it talks from the view from the bottom. So it is not showing about, there are nothing in my book where we go into the realms of fantasy of having a golden age or anything like that. My books are contemporary in nature. The problems which it talks about is about the problems of present day India. For example, even the children's book I wrote, Mahi, which was in the Crossword Award last time, but of course Ruskin Bond won it. In that, it's a children's book.
Nominated for the Crossword Award, right?
The shortlisted for it. So in that, basically the story is how much revivalism you can think. It's about an elephant which wants to fly. The elephant lives in a jungle of Anastan, which is a jungle of vegetarian animals. And their enemies are Pulistan, where all non-vegetarian animals are there, and his mother is CEO of the jungle, Chief Elephant Officer, and her opponent is Trumpo the Jumbo, who has a MAGA program, Make Anastan Great Again. So he brings a yogi monkey who sells Ayurvedic herbs to make elephants fair and lovely, and teaches them yoga so that they can climb trees. So this is satire, though it's a children's book. I don't know how much revivalism and glorification of India is there in that, or is it a current political commentary on it? That I leave it to the reader.
What about you, Anuja, if you were to respond to the same question? Because you would agree that there is a lot of fascination for what was and for characters, and there are several writers who are writing on trying to explore new nuances to characters from the mythics, from the epics. So what is your take on that?
I think I'm one of those people who doesn't subscribe to the extreme right or the extreme left. I have a problem with extremism in any form. I think I'm one of those people who sits on the fence. I think I take the middle path, which Buddha was so huge on, which means people on both sides hate you. So I'm fine with that, because the thing is, on the one hand, you have people who say, it's fashionable to be anti everything Indian mythology or whatever it is. That's a political vendetta over anything else. And on the other side, extreme, you have these people. Anand mentioned how he doesn't say that Mount Kailas was a nuclear reactor or whatever. Same thing. You have WhatsApp groups where they say, in India, we invented this, we did that, this, and there's a whole lot of, you get dismissed. People say it's WhatsApp University. So I don't cater to that kind of audience at all. The way I view it, the past is important. These are our roots. But I see it just as looking at the rear view mirror when you're driving your car. It makes sense to look at your rear view mirror to avoid causing an accident, and it helps you navigate the present and hopefully make your way to a brighter future where you've learned from the mistakes of the past. But if history is any indication, that's not going to happen, because we never learn from the mistakes of our past, which is why this extremism bothers me. So my approach itself is a gentler approach, although I'm sure if you read my books, you won't find it very gentle. It is, you aggressively question some of the falsehoods that have been perpetuated over the ages by vested interests again. You take someone like Ganga. I mentioned this problem where you give a woman a label and brand her for life. So Ganga in many parts of India, she's revered as Ganga Ma, a mother. And I don't know why, as a mother, I'm more aware of my flaws than ever before. Honestly, to tell the truth, there were moments when I came dangerously close to flinging my kids out of the window. It's a frustrating, difficult job. You're not allowed to talk about it. You have to say, I love my children unconditionally. Try loving your snarky teenage daughter who tells you, Ma, you're like an old woman who's trying to look young, Ma. So lame. And at the time, you really, if you're holding something, you want to whack her with it. But because I'm a good mother, I refrain from doing so. But that's there. We mothers are flawed creatures. But, everyone wants to think of you as the perfect mom who loves her children unconditionally. No. Same with Ganga. She was a complicated character. She had a very, very interesting sex life. And she was unapologetic about all of it, because she's Ganga, fierce and feisty and savage, not Ganga Ma, who we've been taught to revere. And in fact, when the sages approach her and tell her, for the good of the worlds, the three worlds, you need to perform intense penances. Tapasya is awful. It's got to be hard on the butt, just sitting and meditating all day and night and living on leaves and fresh air. They asked her to do that to win Shiva's hand. She said, why should I? Let him perform penances to win my hand. I'm worth it. That's Ganga. And when she was approached in the Mahabharata, when she was approached by Bhishma's brothers, the Vasus, they approached her and they asked the impossible of a mother. They said, you must bear us and you must end our life immediately. As if it's very easy to bear a kid and just throw the kid in the river and get it over and done with. So she said, what do I get in return? Satisfaction is more important to me than sacrifice. And then because she's been punished in the past for falling in love with the wrong guy, that's another story unto itself. Shantanu and Ganga themselves are the result of a curse. So she's been bitten before. So she says, I want to enjoy that perfect love. Love where there's pleasure, but there's no pain. I want that for myself. And, so there are some versions which suggest that she was Radha. Radha was an avatar of Ganga. I just found that legend, so I wove it all together. This is what I do. That material is already there. I put the pieces together. And so you have Radha Krishna, that love story that has been immortalized. Radha was a married woman, by the way, but no blame attached to her for having this very passionate, awesome affair with Krishna. So that is what I'm trying to, perpetuate to the readers today, to know that it's okay to be you, to be flawed, and to embrace the flaws and to live your best life.
Thank you, Anuja. That was very interesting. I'm sure Anand will also explain why his books are so immensely popular, especially among young readers. Do you feel that you also give them something to take home from their books about living in a modern age by looking at the characters, I'm sure through your prism of your experiences and through the prism of that world that we live in today?
Basically, I try to tell story with logic. So there are a lot of things which bother you when you read it. So I like the questions, like WhatsApp University, what you were talking about, the questions, what comes to everybody's mind. That's what I try to raise rather than. So what happens, a book like Vanara, I think about who could have been these people who have been called monkeys. So it's Vananara, the people, the tribal people.
Forest dwellers, right?
So,
yeah.
And or take the example of the making of Gandiva Prastha, Indraprastha in the Kali, Rise of Kali book. Indraprastha, if you see it now, how it resonates with today's world is like there are a lot of people living in this forest which was given to the Pandavas. And Krishna takes Arjuna to Gandiva Prastha and asks him to put fire to burn everything that crawls, flies, or swims, to kill everything. Later, Takshaka comes back. It is like today's world, no? You want a project in Vizhinjam, you'll have to get the people thrown out for the good of the nation, right? You bring, because you can build a city, those people who are already living in the jungle, they have to be burned, thrown out, killed, and later how the same Takshaka comes back to take revenge is the part of Mahabharata. So when I pause in these places to ask these questions, how it resonates. Take the case of Kunti and the burning of the house of Lac. Kunti is there, see the coincidence, exactly on the date of when the house of Lac has to burn, one Adivasi woman and 5 children come who exactly look like second one is very big, and Pandavas and other people, and they get drunk and they are burned so that the Kauravas will think it is the Pandavas who have been gone, and these are the people who are going to protect Dharma. So Duryodhana asked this question, I gave you one village, I gave you one home, and you killed innocents. We have 100 problems, we are fighting each other. I tried to kill you and you tried to kill me, it's a part of the politics. But you are killing innocents, you are supposed to protect them. How? And then I gave you, my father gave you a forest, you burned down and killed everyone. And build a city, and then later you gambled it along with your wife. Now why I should give you even one, that's what he asked Krishna, why I should give you a place for even putting a needle. So you tell it from this point of view, suddenly everything changes. So Duryodhana's question is also this, that Kunti goes to forest, and first time you said that my father is blind so he cannot rule, so Pandu rules. Then Pandu goes to the forest. Then Pandu goes, and after some time Kunti comes back with a few rishis claiming that she has children from all kind of gods, assorted gods. Indra, Yama, a lot of people have come, and so there is no lineage of Kurus there, but Pandu was there, so as per the rule of that, a lot of interpretation they give. They come and nobody even knows whether they are these gods, it is only her claim. Whereas the whole time when Pandu had gone, Dhritarashtra was ruling. 5 minutes ago you were telling he cannot rule because he is blind. Now he is ruling for years. So you are changing the rules as and when you please. So this is a question so these questions which naturally comes in our mind, no?
Very much sounds like the politics of today, isn't it?
Politics was never different in any era. Only thing is that whoever won it, they changed it that. So the fundamental question comes, no? If Mahabharata was the war of good versus evil, and if it was the good that won over evil, a Satya Yuga should have followed, a golden age would have followed. But what followed as per Mahabharata itself is Kali Yuga, the evil age. So what was it which won, whether the evil one or the good one? The question starts from there itself, right? If it was that, so these kind of questions which naturally come in anyone's mind who has not been, imagine the case of in Asura, I am telling the story of, I give this as a test many times whenever I speak, no offense for anyone. What happened in Bombay some time back on our 26/11, Ajmal Kasab came and a lot of terrorists came. India and Pakistan has a problem, but these people came and killed a lot of innocents. Hundreds of people died. Now, I am a citizen in Lanka. Imagine you are a citizen in Lanka. You are already under a tyrant, right? Indra cannot defeat him. None of the gods can defeat him. And he is ruling 14 worlds. He is such a big tyrant. What can I do? I am a common citizen. I am sleeping at my home. Then Hanuman comes and he burns down Lanka. So God also comes and burns me, the demon also comes and burns me, right? Where am I? What did I do even? No? So this point of view is what I put across in book after book, thinking it from like Shurpanaga's case, like in my book Valmiki's Women, which has come in Malayalam as Pen Ramayanam. Surpanaga goes to Lakshman, Surpanaga goes to Ram, they make her bounce like football from one side to another, asking it. So it's total mockery of her. One woman has come and expressed her desire. These are powerful people, right? The maximum what they can do is, she tried to attack her. Fine, these are the people who are bound to kill Ravan, these are the people such with great power. They could have just tied her up. Instead, how do they punish? And not once. Ayomukhi also gets punished like that by Lakshman. Her nose is cut, ears are cut. As per many Ramayans, her breasts are cut. Not one woman. Lakshman does this to Ayomukhi also. It's like a serial nose cutter or a breast cutter, you can call. He is doing this. So you pause here and ask this question from somebody has to be the voice of all these things, to think and to show that these are not just the tales of good versus evil. There are a lot of nuances in it, and why this has been put is for you to think, pause and think what is right and wrong and come to your own conclusion. So this thought process is what I try to bring in the readers. Somehow it is resonating, fortunately for me, with the younger readers, cutting across languages, almost 26-27 languages they have come. Cutting across culture also, like Japanese, Indonesian and all, these have become bestsellers. So it is cutting across the cultures also. It's a universal tale we are talking about. Thank you.
As the maker of Bahubali, it is one of India's biggest hits and pan-Indian success. It showed a lot of politicking. It was about talking about the common man. It was talking about a son who is not been very lucky in his life, stuff like that. So when you were writing the story, which epic was on your mind? What was on your mind? And did you look up to any epic for inspiration?
Mahabharata.
Which one?
Bahubali is Mahabharata.
Who is the character in it?
And that is straight trick. But Bahubali is... See, actually there are hardly 2 or 3 stories in the world. Everything is a rehash. How well you mask it is where your skill lies. The same story you can write, every story you can break down to 2 or 3 types.
That's what the Mahabharata says. No, there is no story which is not there.
Vyasa got it right. Like most of the things he got it right. So he is such a fearless writer. He or the group of writers who would have written, perhaps many people say he's not one man, because so many things, it's like a big stream, so many things have been added, so many versions are there. So like,
you don't want to reveal who Bahubali is based on? Who was the character? That remains a secret for each of us to explore, is it?
See, half the fun of the writing is to putting these Easter eggs and letting the reader, if I start explaining it, it becomes it becomes as boring as explaining sex to people.
Oh.
It has to be experienced.
Well, Anuja, I don't think you have to do that, but even then, like if you were to talk about, you have also written about Abhimanyu, you've written about Arjun, all very complex, interesting characters whom we thought about as heroes, but you've also written different shades to them. When you write about them like that, what is the kind of research you have to do? Because you're treading on a ground that has been trod before, and you're again exploring new facets of these characters and heroes. So like Anand says, there is a lot of politicking in the Mahabharata. There is a lot of sex, violence, everything that you need for a bestseller. So what is it that you choose and pick? What made you choose these characters?
As Anand rightly pointed out, it's a lot of politicking. He writes from Duryodhana's side and I write from Arjuna's side. For those who don't know, Arjuna is the love of my life. I love him. I always have. When it comes to cricketers and movie stars, I keep changing my mind about who I like. I'm very fickle, but Arjuna's forever, always the love of my life. So, when Anand talks about the house and all that, my response is to defend, because I love Arjuna, but I make no bones about the fact that the epics tend to glorify war. That's how it's portrayed. You have a Dharma Yuddha. These guys won, these guys lost. But whether it's Arjuna's story or Abhimanyu's story, my version makes it clear that there are no winners in war. Because Abhimanyu's death, it destroyed the lot of them. You have even a character like Draupadi. Draupadi's favorite was Abhimanyu, not her own sons. And she says, he would have been enough to avenge me. She shames her husbands like that. She says, Abhimanyu is enough. I say one word, he will avenge me. I don't need you fellows. So, you have this 16-year-old Abhimanyu cut down on the orders of Duryodhana and Karna. There's no justification for what happened to our nice, pure soul. In war, there's only losers. The Kauravas die, it's over for them. The Pandavas get to live with trauma. it's generational trauma. And there's a famous song, Ilayaraja's song in Tamil, where the singer Rajnikant is in that movie. So he sings, whether it's Rama ruling or Ravana ruling doesn't make a difference to me, because women, in our epics they say that during a good king, a god-like king's reign, women do not suffer during childbirth. There's no poverty, no hunger. We know that's not true. All of you who've gone through labor pains, even this part they don't tell mothers, because then nobody will want to have children ever. So they don't tell you, they talk about the magic of childbirth. It's a messy, brutal, traumatic, gross experience. No magic, no warm feelings and all, you want to kill yourself. So, so I don't believe there was any, whether a good king is in power, whoever is in power, it will pain for you. No two ways about it. So same thing, what they said, whether it's Rama in power or Ravana in power, doesn't matter. Women continue, the oppressed, the minorities, for them their lot is always hard. To give a contemporary example, I'd already talked about the ridiculousness of the extreme right and the extreme left. The situation in Gaza, on the left, they will on the one hand bravely condemn the persecution of Muslims and other minorities in India. You should, that's your job, you should condemn. But you should also condemn what's happening in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza. Do not don't enable it, because it's fashionable to support the powerful Jews and the Israelis in different parts of the world. Don't do that. The extreme right, they will support it also. What's happening in Gaza, all the chest thumping, they threaten to cut off people's noses for writing about history, mythology, and they will defend what's happening in Gaza. They'll say, yes, we also need to do the ethnic cleansing thing. So we need to protest against all these false narratives, they have been stitched together for political gain. We need to question all these narratives, whichever side of the divide it comes from. Whether it's mythology or history or the news that's been fed to us, don't accept it with closed eyes. Ask questions and look for the truth yourself. Do your research. Check opposing sources. Figure out the truth for yourself, because the truth is worth it.
I'm sure people like Anand and Anuja are doing that. Anand was talking about how he searched for new idioms in the epics to bring out for a new word and question what he felt was grey ground in the epics. So Anand, have you also been trying to, through your books, through for adults, children, and through even screenplays, have you been trying to do that in your own way by delving into, because even you could have written fiction instead of touching upon the epics. You could have just spun a story about A, B, C or whatever and used all the all the plots that you've used in your stories to bring it to life instead of, naming them Arjuna or Kaurava or whatever you want. So what was the inspiration or what was the decision that you took when you decided to rework the epics or retell the epics through your books?
My writing is answering my own uncomfortable questions which I got when I first encountered them. And it's a journey of exploration. So I write not just from this particular side, though most of my books are that. I have attempted in many of my television series and other things to write from the conventional side also, yet give a spin, like Siya Ke Ram, which I wrote, tried to tell it with all the limitations of television, to tell the story from Sita's point of view. Finally, it got matriarched at the altar of the TRPs, that's a second thing, but at least it started with good intention for the first 150 episodes. Same way I have tried to tell it from Ram's point of view in Srimad Ramayana, which I did for the Sony TV. So the same Ramayana, like it's about a narrative. You try to experience and live that. I don't find, many a times this has been asked, when I started writing, the greatest, the most selling writer was Chetan Bhagat, who was writing half girlfriend. I didn't even have quarter girlfriend. So it is better to write about something which I know, which makes me uncomfortable, at the same time excited also to explore all these characters. And this is something which is in the core of India, right? Everything, Ramayana and Mahabharata, cutting across language and religion or caste or everything, it is so rooted that the entire Indian value system is based on all these things, for better and worse. So and over the centuries, this has been used by writers in various ways, and just following in the same tradition of it. Writing a random story, will I do it? Definitely will I am a professional writer, I will do. I have films coming up with proper commercial elements with Rohit Shetty and all proper comedy masala films. There also I will use what you call elements from mythology. I have written shows like Adalat and all where it is I don't advertise it much because it's always funnier or easier to pretend I am an intellectual and I am writing, even though I am not writing all the books and other things. But to make two ends meet, to put idli in my table, not bread, I don't eat much of bread. Idli in my table, I had to write commercial things. So I am an out and right commercial writer, like an actor who takes various roles. An actor could play a comedian role, a villain's role. A good actor will try to play different roles. I try to write cutting across all genre. So definitely one of the books which I signed up for, it is about writing about a contemporary detective, something trying to create. My ambition is to create a Sherlock Holmes kind of character for India in Indian English. So that also I have signed up. Those things also
We have
I
a lot of characters in India right now. So will you be modeling them on those, or will you be creating your own brand of detective? I'm sure you must be trying for your own brand.
I am not writing Mr. Bean's character. I am talking about Sherlock Holmes. I don't know how many Sherlock Holmes are there in India.
No, but Satyajit Ray had Feluda, right?
Satyajit Ray had Feluda, but nothing has come in our thing to match what Agatha Christie did or these people did. Not that what I write will become that, but that is something I always try to keep some things ambitious so that at least if I am able to break into like how the mythology I tried to do it when I started writing 13 years back, not many genre were there. Indian English itself was not such a big language and nobody had thought about it. In 2012, because I started it in 2002 or something, started writing it. So generally in Indian English writing was basically meant for the foreigners to enjoy the poverty of India. So basically it went through that formula. So at that time, I wanted to write Indian stories in the Indian way without bothering about what some white man is going to think. Because I was sure no white man is going to read, only we are concerned about what they are thinking about. So I didn't, none of the words in Asura or Ajaya or anywhere, I didn't have a glossary or italics or anything. If you don't understand what dharma is and you need an asterisk to explain what this is in 2 words, you did not read my book. I am writing for Indians and I am writing for the people who are familiar with our culture. That I was very clear. So, and I wrote what I am familiar with. Slowly, as I am writing now 16 books and around 1,500 hours of television shows, films and other things, slowly I am gaining confidence. After 10 years of writing, I started writing children's book because I was not confident. It's one of the toughest genre to write. Slowly I am moving to other things because this is also getting saturated. Now so many people are writing on mythology. Some are good books, some are horrible books, like any other field. These are also coming. So it's time to slowly move away also a bit. Though this is my first love, I'll continue with it. But I will I'll be exploring other genres.
Anuja, you're also performing Bharatanatyam dancer. So have you also interpret your own themes through dance, not only to writing. So how is it to cross-pollinate, like what Anand has been doing? He does screenplays, television. So what is it like to cross-pollinate these themes into a different way of storytelling?
So I have many interests. I already mentioned I'm fickle. I get bored with stuff very quickly. So when I'm sick of writing, dance is a happy space. When dance is driving me mad, motherhood is not a bad space to hang out with. And my teenage daughters are driving me up the wall. I like having yoga. I have varied interests. But dance and music is a very, very powerful mode of communication. So whichever way it goes, I'm always grateful that I have dance and music in my life. And just to give an example of the cross-pollination, at the time I was trying to write Mohini, the enchantress. And for some reason, I really struggled with this character because she's like a fragment from a dream, so elusive, you can't pin her down. So I was wrestling, I mean, we don't like to admit this part. We like to pretend that we sit comfortably in front of a laptop, looking very pretty, a cup of coffee there, with your hair all in place. No, the reality is more messy. PJs, you're like, I can't get into the skin of this character, and you're going mad. At that point, I was training for my Arangetram, and the Varnam, which which is the centerpiece of the Arangetram, was, Charukeshi. It's a Varnam about this Naika expressing her love and longing for Krishna. So I was just immersed in that, and that's when you explore love and desire from a safe space. Because I am from a very conservative part of Tamil Nadu, where you will be slut shamed for leaving the house without a dupatta. Forget shaking hands and hugging men and all. It's considered extremely loose and forward behavior. So for me to write about Mohini, the enchantress who weaponized desire in many ways, I didn't realize there were so many barriers within me. So through Charukeshi, where you cut loose at a very unconscious level, I felt it helped me get into Mohini's world better. And it was such a powerful, immersive experience, and it's just very rewarding to have the privilege to do what you love. And later this month, Mahashivratri is happening. Sadhguru's made Shivaratri sexy again, which means there'll be stampede-friendly conditions in temples. I'm going to perform in Tiruvarur and Tiruvannamalai, but all that notwithstanding, it's an amazing vibe to perform in a temple where there are hundreds and thousands of devotees all picking up that chant, Mahadeva, Hara 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 Mahadeva, and you'll get goose flesh, and it's a beautiful experience. So I'm looking forward to it, and all of it is fodder for my stories. Any random conversation you have with me, any gossip you share with me, be warned, it's going to find its way into my books and stories, because at the end of it all, I'm a storyteller. I always will be. I live and breathe for the stories. So fair warning, everything I have, I'll use it here, and I need every bit I get.
So please be warned, before you start talking to her, you can be sure that you might be a character, or the bits of conversation will be woven into her next story. But speaking about cross-pollination, you agreed that Bahubali the book and the Bahubali the movie were quite different. So what happens when an author writes and then gives it to another person for his or her interpretation? In fact, every reader does that. When you write a book and you pass it on, I might interpret it in my own way. I see the characters in a different way. And similarly, another reader might see it in a, but when you make a movie, it's like fine, and you're showing your character. So what does that entail, and how happy or disappointed were you with the end result? Not the commercial success, the interpretation of the book.
For me, commercial success is very important, so I won't decline that.
That's very honest.
I write for a living, making a living. I had a job with Indian Oil Corporation. I was a chief manager there. I resigned from a typical middle class family. I come from a very poor background. Rose to studied hard, didn't succeed much, a lot of back papers in engineering and all, but got the job after a lot of difficulty, and so it was very difficult to leave the job. I left the job thinking that I can make a living, and I am doing a pretty decent living, making decent money for a lower middle class guy. It's quite a good life which I am leading. Now no longer lower middle class. So I can't deny the commercial aspect of any of these things. I write for money. I don't want any awards to throw back at someone. Somebody gives, if it is with a cash prize, I will take it. That is
very
first thing.
Honest. But let me add just
I will
a little bit.
answer the question.
Okay.
I consider all these things as different media. So I have written more screenplays than books now. Much more. If I print all these things, that will be around 100 books size in the last 13-14 years. Almost 12 shows, of which around 7-8 were super hits and 3-4 were decent hits. All these, what I have written are, I just hand it over and I don't bother about what they are doing it. Because film is a director's art. If it is a film, a TV is a TV channel's art and the sponsor's art. So I even write for, when I am writing, not the OTTs which I wrote, that's a different ballgame, they are more like novels. But if I am writing for like Star TV or Sony TV, you'll have to even time the commercial break is going to come. So it's a skill rather than what is your satisfaction. Satisfaction is only in the check. Nothing else. There is no satisfaction in writing. I'm very honest. I'm writing it for money when I'm doing for television. Films are slightly better because you get money and a bit more fame. So films I do. I write poetry. Nobody publishes it. That I write for my own sake. Even I can't read it after some time. But poetry doesn't pay. So whatever pays me is inversely proportional to whatever I like. But it is better than slogging in some office doing a boring job and trying to write the next great literature. If I continue to write my novels and this thing, somewhere or other, I am going to become better and better. And many of the books are still remembered. It has crossed languages without I intending to make it into a great hit. They're still talked about. Asura is one among 100 books to be read in a lifetime. So, Bahubali, when you are doing it, no, it is like a plan of a building. After that, the building has to happen, interior decorator has to come, gardener has to come, 100 things will happen in a screenplay. So I never bother, I don't watch, I never watched a single episode of what I have written. Honestly, I can't stand it.
So you are honest. The money matters, but your creative work is also close to your heart. That's why probably
So
you did watch.
creative work I do with my novels, my short stories, and the poetry who nobody reads. No? So, so it's I had to make a living. My choices was slog in the office, work for at that time it was 60 hours. Now it has gone up to 120 hours. I heard in the offices. That's what people are telling. No, 120 hours you have to slog so that Narayana Murthy can buy another and create for nation. So all those things are happening. My choice is whether to do that or write something which I don't hate but I don't love. I'm just doing it for money. Do it so that I am financially secure and then experiment with whatever I want. So I experiment with travelogues, I experiment with columns, I experiment with audio dramas. Now I am writing light and sound show for many of the historical monuments engaged by many tourism departments across the state like Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan and all. So I am exploring different genres so that I have enough financial stability to do what I want. That is the trick.
I'm sure there are a lot of people in the audience who are envious of your lifestyle and dying to ask you questions about how both of you managed to do it. So I think we must let them ask you questions.
I believe most of the myths have a historical origin. The discovery of Troy was one such. And I think, Anuja, you have written a biography of Tughlaq? Yes. So why not you write something like that, a historical approach to some of those mythological stories?
My Tughlaq, just to clarify, it's historical fiction. I never, the way I see it, mythology has elements of history. And history has elements of mythology despite what the historians want you to think. Just to give an example of two of the most brilliant historians in India today, you have Manu Pillai on one hand. You read his Gods, Guns and Missionaries, and you have Vikram Sampath, who was here to talk about Tipu Sultan. I'm sure if Vikram were to counter everything Manu has written, he will provide equivalent number of sources and citations, and Manu will do the same with Vikram's Tipu Sultan. So my point is, at the end of the day, history and mythology, they are like statistics. You can use the existing mythology, the existing material for history or mythology to peddle whatever narrative you want. Please remember that.
We Malayalis are almost familiar with reinterpretations. We have famous movies like Bharatam, which was from the Bharata's perspective. And of course, MT sir gave us a classic. So my question to you is, when you're writing a lot of interpretations, you will have two perspectives. One is the author's perspective. So when you're looking into the audience perspective, so if you take a character like Karna, for example, so how do you feel? So when a character is presented to the audience, do you think that it is very much important for that character to be a hit? Do you think that the backstory or whatever the character has with him, that is important? Or do you think that we have to write him in such a manner that the audience should never forget, or the audience should very much take up that character? What is your opinion on that?
See, basically when I write, mine is mostly, I write mythology like historical fiction. I take out all the fantasy elements out of it. So even Ajaya, if you read, they are using chemicals and other things, herbs and other things instead of the divine weapons. It's all engineering. So when I approach like that, the moment Ajaya, for example, is told from the perspective of 5 characters, Duryodhana, Suyodhana, who is called also as Suyodhana, even in Mahabharata, Karna, Ashwatthama, Ekalavya and Jara, the one who kills Krishna. So these 5 characters are telling the tale. I keep changing the perspective. So in my eyes, I am the hero. Even Krishna has a lot of chapters in that, which I told the entire thing through Krishna's perspective. It's a big book. So when I am writing, how will we naturally think? I think my side is always right, right? So I try to put that. So naturally, all these things. So in Asura, what I did, I alternated the perspective between Ravana and Bhadra to bring truth in between. So that Ravana thinks whatever he is doing is right and he will glorify himself. So it writes by itself. You do not specifically think and try to make him a hero. Because if you are writing the story, definitely, unless you have some psychic issue, definitely you will be thinking that you are the hero of the story. No, we are all heroes of our story. So the moment I take a point of view character, it naturally flows. The script is different. Script is always third man's perspective. So I'll have to put elements to make him look like a hero. Sometimes they overdo it. That's why they walk in slow motion for long time and all that.
Hi sir, hi ma'am. Anybody can answer this question. So basically there are several stories or several persons have written on Yudhishthira, Bhima and Arjuna. But nobody is writing or nobody is delving into the stories of Nakula and Sahadeva. So are you planning to write a book on Nakula or Sahadeva?
To answer your question, I would suggest that you pick up Abhimanyu, because when I wrote Arjuna, it was the Mahabharata from Arjuna's perspective, and I noticed exactly the same thing as you, that Yudhishthira, Bhima and Arjuna tend to hog the spotlight. So in Abhimanyu, all the characters who got the short end of the stick in Arjuna, I have made a lot of effort to explore the twins' journey also, and you discover lovely things like Nakula was sweet and sensitive, very good with animals. He was an equestrian. That was his super skill. And Sahadeva was the wise one with that clear-headed thinking. And Yudhishthira also would keep him around all the time and ask his opinion first. So it's a lovely journey. And Nakula, remember the twins saw their mother climb the funeral, their father's funeral pyre. That must have been so traumatic. And you realize that Nakula and Sahadeva hang out a lot with Abhimanyu and Upapandavas because they are the youngest in that generation. So the age, they are little more than boys themselves. So they're so comfortable with these kids, and it's a lovely equation. So I definitely recommend that you check out Abhimanyu.
Louis Fisher biography, Gandhiji says, Hinduism take ideals into high pedestal and roles to also high pedestal. So society often finds it difficult to catch up. So that creates problems often. It's not in the Western society. Second, Ayodhya movement got traction following the Ramayana series in the Doordarshan. Now also I find there are a lot of religious books are there. Earlier we don't find such a religious book exhibition or even bookstores. There may be Ramayana and all the sub-commentaries will be there. A lot of you are writing, so many people are writing, a good section is there. Whenever this happens, the political clock moves to the right. So is politics following the literature and film and all, or the other way?
So with regard to Gandhian ideals, it didn't come out of nowhere, and I still maintain in an age where Savarkar's ideology has also been unearthed, I feel Gandhian ideals are still, it's like a legacy which India can rightly be proud of, because it didn't come out of nowhere. I feel it was influenced by the Bhakti movement, and just because Gandhian ideals of love, compassion and truth and non-violence are hard to emulate, it does not mean we stop trying. We have to try and be the best version of ourselves and try not to embrace all your base impulses. That's what I'm trying to say. Try to be better.
Sir, I think politics runs in cycles. So even it follows literature, films, everything follow according to the cycles. So this keeps changing. Before that, it is not that first time religious literature is coming. You go back, the first wave of films, when it came, they were all Bhakta Prahlada, Harishchandra. It all ran through that. And then it went through the next phase of social dramas, and it went to the 70s, 80s hippie era and all. Again, it is coming back. So this goes on phases, nothing to be worried about or anything. Politics will go on, and this is not the first time politics is getting violent. Much more, politics was violent 70 years ago. We had partition, much more violent, 75 years ago. We had partitions, we had world wars. So it is nothing, this fear mongering that this will happen, tomorrow it is going to happen, day after tomorrow genocide is going to happen. After the third day, there will be gas chambers. These things will continue. This is a part of history. We are living in a part of history. It's on us to stop it if it has to come. It's a democratic country still, fortunately. How much democratic, that we'll have to think about. But these cycles will keep on going. You cannot ascribe any movement to one television series. I don't think Indian society is as simple as that. And there are multiple reasons for the thing to catch up, including the Shabano case and what had happened, the political instability, Bofor's case. If you read history, so much political instability had come. To ascribe it to one television series is questioning the intelligence of the entire Indians. So then definitely politicians have taken advantage of it from all sides, which they have been doing from time immemorial.
Sir, I am Abhijit, studying in 9th grade in Kendriya Vidyalaya, Pangod. So my first of all, I am a great Bahubali fan, and my dream country to go is always Mahishmati. So first of all, my question is, as we already know the story of Shivakami, the story of two Bahubalis and all. So my question to you is, are you going to be writing any book about the future of Mahishmati, the story of Mahishmati after the Bahubali that incident?
See, that was a commission project. In the sense, Rajamouli had called me and asked me to create the story world, and I had done that. So I do a lot of commissioned projects, just like I do films and shows. So it is for the producer and the Rajamouli to decide we need a sequel of it. Until they tell, I can't independently write it. So it was a commission project, so I am waiting for their clearance. If they pay me enough, well, I will write it. I am a professional writer, as I said.
Thank you very much, Anand and Anuja, for that very entertaining, enlightening conversation. I'm
Thank you.
sure a lot of people would like to take tips from both of you. Thank you very much.